welcome back to This Takes the Cake. We're super excited and honored to have Chris here. Chris is from Heritage Florals. And let's just start with, how did we meet and when did we meet?
We met last December, right?
Yes,
At
we did.
kind of a shit show of a wedding.
A beautiful venue, by
It
the
was
way.
RIP.
Yeah, it's not a venue anymore, guys, for anyone listening.
No, it's kind of sad. And it garnered like so much success and like popularity so quickly, but
It
like
did.
just as quickly as it rose, it fell just as fast. No, we met at a gorgeous wedding. Oddly enough, I was the only vendor. I think I was the only vendor that was actually local, that was local here, and then you just brought everyone else.
Right, right. Well, I didn't know like where to go or who to trust, and that's the
No one.
importance. You said no one.
No one. It was a stunning design too, and like the bride was really easy to work with.
She was a hoot.
Honestly,
She was fun.
yeah, she was. I mean, and it was a simple design too. I actually wasn't even supposed to be on site that day for how simple it was. The only reason why is because the girl who normally like does like our hanging installations, she was sick. And
Oh.
it was a simple like two person,
Yeah.
but I loved that venue. So going out, and I knew it was closing, so it was going to be the last time we were there.
Right. No, for sure. And it was on a Thursday, right? Because I remember it was
It was
like,
like a random day of the week too.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah. And
think
I
it was a
think,
Thursday.
yeah, it was 12/12. That was the
I'm
meaning
glad you
behind it.
remember. I
So
can't.
it was 12/12/24, and she picked it because 12 plus 12 equals 24.
You know what? I can see her doing that and connecting the dots there.
Mm-hmm.
And hats off to her.
No, for sure. And I'm so glad we connected because I remember we talked right after the wedding, and I was
Yeah,
like, and I'd take this very lightly because it takes a lot to impress me. So,
well, that's what your team said too, and I was like, I didn't think I did anything like over the top.
well, and that's the thing. It was just you being you and being so professional. Like you, it's not like you were trying to impress me or any
Right.
of those things. It was your team showed up. You had the timeline layout. You read it. So thank you. You guys were all in branding.
I know.
Obviously attire, which I
As were
love.
you from head
Yes,
to toe.
as were we. And you just really impressed me because a lot of times, people get to site and they're like, what do I do? Where do I go? And like,
Right.
there was none of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, he just gets it. We
Who is
need to
this
work with
person?
him. Yeah, who is this guy?
Right? No, and
So,
it was a great production too. There was a lot of moving parts, and I mean, we work with a ton of planners both in our market and other markets, and I don't think I've ever seen that many planners assistants or anybody like a swarm of people. I don't think she could have had to like lift a finger that day without someone being there to help her.
right. And then even the more amazing part was that you guys stayed or you came back to move the ceremony florals.
When you told me that some florists don't do that, it just literally blew my mind because it's like, what are you like loading up an urn in the back of your car and just
Oh,
like driving
yeah.
it across?
No, or a wagon, or we're carrying it, or we're doing whatever we need to do to
That's
make it
ins-
happen.
that's literally insanity to me. Like honestly, it's so frustrating too because I know how much work goes into some of these ceremony pieces, and for like florists to just be like, someone who doesn't know flowers can move it. Like you could go over and it weigh like 300 pounds, and they're like,
Oh,
what?
yeah.
The street like drinking a margarita?
Yes, then I'm trying to like recruit some of the catering guys or something. I'm like, okay, $20, will you move this for me?
Goodness gracious. And half the time, like a part of like a service fee from a florist covers elements of like a flip.
Right,
But I
right.
mean, I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean that day you guys totally blew us away. You impressed us.
Well,
So,
thank you.
and I
It
think
was
we're
it
working.
was a fun day.
It was, and I think we're working together again soon, right?
I think in like less than a month, with Catherine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
We're so
that'll
excited to
be
be in Devidu. I
yes,
had
that'll
to
be
learn how to say it correctly.
I know, right? Yeah, it is definitely said different. Okay, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the floral world, the event world. Would love to know the story.
Yes. Yeah. So when I was 18, I started working for what I would have constituted or like defined as a bakery, but it wasn't like your typical bakery. We did like production. So, you know, the cake pops that were at like Walmart, Starbucks, and Target.
Oh yeah.
So the owner of the company I worked for actually serviced all of those accounts. We would ship out 100 to 125,000 cake pops like every month and a half or 2 months. I thought it was just like a bakery, but it was literally like a production assembly line, like warehouse. And so there's me just like this dainty little 18-year-old who I'm enamored with the idea of small business. I always have.
Right.
And to watch Anne was the owner, to watch Anne kind of grow and scale this like niche business to service some of the world's like largest companies and create like she literally created a trend. And I was just so enamored. So I kind of stuck by her side and like ran her operations.
And so where was that at?
It was based in Creedmoor, North Carolina, and then we moved to Raleigh. So
Okay.
we went from like 35 minutes north of Raleigh to actual Raleigh. And what happened over the course of time is that like my creative outlet was a little bit, I guess, shrunk because when you're dealing with like corporate America and corporate orders, like the most creative you can get is like the colors and the flavors.
Right.
And I remember talking to Anne one day and saying, like, hey, I know that there's an outlet here for the possibility of introducing a wedding line. And like we had this like custom 3-tiered like wooden stand built that you could put cake pops in. And she had already done it before because she had actually done one of the inaugural balls for a president.
Oh,
And so we
wow.
had some like really great marketing pictures. And so we kind of took that concept. We went to a local wedding show and it was my first time like around wedding vendors
Mm-hmm.
and brides. And like the energy in the room, first of all, was aggressive. And second of all, like the camaraderie between like vendors and just like the people who were asking us questions, it was so, it like filled my cup.
Right.
To talk to people about a new product, to talk to people who were actually interested in like what I was doing. And then
Right.
on top of that, all the brides who were like, here's my money, show up at my wedding. Like I had never experienced that type of energy before. And so we came off of that weekend with like a super high, and then Anne and I sat down and we like literally drew out a business plan of how to scale this like niche wedding company. We went from having no weddings on the books that year to I think we did over 60 weddings our first year.
That's awesome.
And we were horrendously undercharging because we had no idea what like we didn't know like where we fit in because catering companies, they do their own desserts, but
Right.
they're not like niche desserts or anything like that. So we very quickly kind of had to pivot and restructure. But the following year, we became like the biggest. We were one of the largest like dessert catering companies in the area. People were throwing us money. And it was, again, it was like very energetic. It was very, like, it was palpable.
So were you helping make everything as
Oh
well?
God, no, you would have never wanted me to do that. I
Okay,
was
just
basically just like sales and design. Like I would
okay.
meet with the clients and they would like show me their colors and I'd just be like, all right, well, what if we did this and then these colors here? It was like looking back, I thought I was David Tutera. You couldn't have told me anything. I was literally like all I was doing was like choosing colors. And
I
I mean,
love it.
but these brides, they were so I mean, the idea of custom anything for
Oh, they
a
love that.
yeah, they just love it. I mean, we could put their names on those things if we wanted to. It was fun. And eventually, like that kind of morphed into something where, as the trend started phasing out, we started introducing like more things on our packages. Like I would put literally Trader Joe's flowers on the side of our cake pop stand just to kind of dress it up a little bit. And I would show up
Right.
on site to some of these huge weddings and I would just like look at the florist and be like, you are the coolest person in this room. And I just remember kind of having a shift and wanting to start playing with flowers. And I would go to Trader Joe's mostly on like payday because flowers are expensive.
Right.
And I would just buy like $200 worth of flowers and I would go home and just start plugging and playing and seeing like what I could make. And not saying wasn't easy, but for me it came a little bit easier than I guess it would for others. And it was just so fun. It was again, it was like my cup was filling again. And from there, it's kind of just like I started introducing myself into that category of vendor, and I booked my first wedding not knowing the difference between a ranuncula and a garden rose, and
Right.
here I am.
I love it. That's awesome. And it's so funny that you say that because I actually started my business doing a first bridal expo. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I was very passionate about it and I was
Right.
like, I was like, this will work. So that's so cool. So when did you start Heritage Florals?
So officially, we started 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
That's crazy.
it morphed from like just doing daily orders and like servicing like our small town. And then like a few weddings here and there, but nothing huge. So, but like 3 years ago, we officially were like, all right, we need to shit or get off the pot.
Right. No, for
Yeah.
sure. So back to the cake pops. It's funny that you bring that up. I recently met somebody that works, I guess it potentially could be that one. But they do all the Starbucks cake pops.
So it could have been when Anne kind of dissolved the company. It was kind of like a vulture situation because all of our contacts, all of our like our black book was kind of just like open, and
Right.
all these like smaller companies came in and like picked off all of the like what they wanted to.
What they,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a great concept. Looking back at it, like if I were doing it right now at almost 30, I'd be like, first of all, you're not profitable, and second of all, what are you doing? Raise your prices, and then like you don't need 10 people working for you full time.
Right. Yeah, no, no, for sure. That's crazy. Okay, so what was your very big first wedding or event that you've done with Heritage?
So my very first big wedding under like the brand under the Heritage was about a year and a half ago. And oddly enough, the planner actually sent me the lead. And this was when I first was introduced, my first like full service planner. So I had no idea what to expect because up until that point, the brides had reached out to me directly.
Right.
And so when this planner reached out to me, she had like requested a full on proposal. Like naively, I was like, well, I would love to talk with the client. And that's
Yeah.
like a big, like, at least here in our market, the planner just wants to collect what she can. And we came as a referral from doing someone's rehearsal dinner the spring before. So I'm talking to this planner. I'm giving them all the, all the details, and I give them like a good solid quote. They came to me with an ideal budget in mind, and it was literally the most amount of money I thought anyone would ever spend on flowers. It was 15,000. Like, but back then I was like, oh my God, someone wants to spend $15,000 with me. That's
That's amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I still had no idea how to accurately quote without disrupting like the floral industry, because when florists underquote, all it does is just hurt everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like I did research, I talked to my other florist friends. So I finally came up with like this beautiful quote, this amazing like 20-page vision board, and it was crickets for weeks. It was like the most anticipation that I've ever had. And then finally I got the email that they were ready to move forward. We spent about 8 months with them and the planner, and like really niching down exactly what they wanted. Ultimately, like defining the wedding itself, it was very simplistic. It was, light blue, white, green, what we see every weekend.
Right.
But for me, because it was kind of like a marker for a full service designed planner trusting us. It really just sticks in my mind because there wasn't anything like truly special about it. But what was special is like it was the first time that someone had trusted us with their vision. And it was a beautiful day. The family was incredibly thankful. We had some really fun elements there. Ultimately, what was the best part about it was that it kind of marked in my memory that was the first time that someone with a huge reputation in our market took a chance on who was like a brand new florist.
Right. No, I mean that's awesome, and that goes a long way too. When a planner reaches out, and obviously we're on your side, we're
Right.
we're teaming with you to make sure that the bride's everything. But I will say I do love when each vendor actually gets to talk to the client, even
Right.
if they are super busy. I just want them to know personality, who they're hiring,
Right.
and even maybe it's easier to seal that deal. That
Well, and
way
like
they,
and you guys do that, which was like very
yeah,
refreshing. But I don't know like if it's market to market or if it's just like
maybe,
planner to planner, but a lot of the planners who I've worked with that are full service, they kind of, I don't think they gatekeep, but they really do protect their client. They're like a linebacker. Like if I have questions for them, like hey, is your client allergic to lilies? Like I just need to know. They're like, let me
right.
let me email them. I'll get back to you.
No, that is funny. No, I mean, we really want our clients to interact and get to know them and create the relationship, with their vendors,
Right.
especially photographer, anyone that's doing design and things like that, just to
For
make
sure.
sure you get a feel for them. Just like the client we just worked with in December, like you
Yeah.
really got to know her and know her personality and what she likes and doesn't like. And
Yeah.
I think that does go a long way.
Well, didn't she also hilariously like she reached out to us before any
Correct.
And when I was brought into the fold, you were like, wait, 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 hold on. Like, can we back up a little bit? Can we go over the things that like she actually needs to do for
Right, yeah. Which,
the
I mean, I'm excited when someone finds somebody they love and they just want to go ahead and book them. I
right?
mean, but just because of availability and, those type of things.
Well, how does that work for you? Like, if you're a full service and you have this like beautiful design, and the couple comes back and is like, "Yeah, my cousin is going to do the wedding flowers." How do you professionally and politely insert and be like, "Hey, girl, you let's not."
So actually, in their contract, they have to hire professional,
Ooh,
licensed, insured people.
okay, contract.
So it leaves the door open. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to book these vendors, but I need to know that they're in the industry. I just had a client the other day. She was like, "Oh, we have a photographer," and I was like, "Who?" And she was like, "My friend." And I was like, "No." I literally said, "I said, do you want to be friends with her after the wedding?"
That's actually a really good way of putting that without like,
Without saying it.
uh-huh, like if it's not going to go on the Instagram, like I'm not there.
Yeah, no, for sure. She was
Uh,
like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, have they ever shot a wedding?" And she's like, "No." And I said, "Bad idea."
Oh gosh. And
Bad
like
idea.
why would that even like cross someone's mind? I get like wanting to make people feel included, but this is supposed to be the most important day of your life. And next to that, it's the most expensive day. How are you gonna
Mm-hmm.
flush that away with someone who has like a point and shoot that they bought from Target?
Yep. And then I'm like, you know what? That's really the one thing you get to walk away with that day is those
It's the
photos. So,
photos. That's
and I've had, yep. And through experience, that's really where we, redefined of expectations for all of our clients, so because it's a reflection of us at the end of the day, even
yeah.
if we're just month of partial, all of the things, they're like, "Oh my God, they hired that photographer or that florist. That was
Why
her uncle."
right? Exactly. Like, ooh, this wasn't a good one.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so how do you approach when you're working with the florals and of a wedding and event? How do you start the design of that?
So if it's like a full service design brought to us by a planner, we typically host like 2 to 3 design meetings with the planner themselves without the client because we want to make sure that we execute the vision accurately based on like what the planner created. What we've found a lot of the time is like the planners who are designers at their core, they are super protective over the small details. And I'm very much about the details, whether it be like a wallpaper pattern or a swatch of fabric for the pillows. And
Right,
I want to make sure that all of the elements that I can introduce make sense. So like for me, it's not necessarily the textiles, it's like the textures. Like can we use a wooden compote that can accent an element over here, or what metal can we introduce, like ribbed glass or flat glass, like the simple things that for me make up what's important for a tablescape. Tablescapes are my jam. I love a good
love it.
arbor. I love a good ultimate like bird's eye view. But when I zoom into like a tablescape, I want to see like custom tapered candles. I want to see like blown glass bud vases. I want to see like all those elements that the bride may not even care about, but
Right,
for me, like it came together and it complemented what the planner brought us. That's how we approach most of like our full service designs. And even if it's just like a simple bud based wedding or like even a la carte, like I give my brides homework. They have to give
right.
a good Pinterest board, and I need to see like what they like and what they don't like. Because a lot of the
Agree.
times flowers are up to interpretation, as is anything. And a bride may say like, oh, like we've got it. One of our weddings this weekend is like Merlot, Burgundy, and blush. Well, my version of Merlot, Burgundy, and blush might be different from our brides. So
Very true.
what I have them do is I have them make a Pinterest board of items that they like and then items that they don't like. And they have
Love
to
it.
tell me why they don't want them. And then I'm able to kind of create a very comprehensive vision board for them, which keeps me and my team accountable. Because if you can't just approach anything, if anyone is giving you any single penny to execute a service, you have to treat them with the same amount of respect and their design with the same amount of respect as if they were giving you a $500,000. Because to them,
Absolutely.
it's important. And so we treat all of our clients the same way that we would treat, like my mom. And like my mom is an assistant for me on the day
Aw,
of weddings,
I
and
love
mostly
it.
just because she likes to spend time with us. But
Right. And that's the only time she gets to spend with you. No, I'm
no,
kidding.
literally. I mean, treating them with care and then like ultimately on our side of the fence, all of us wedding professionals, we see white and green weddings all the time. It is
Right.
your classic. It'll never go away. I joke with my staff and I joke with the people who can take consultations for me, because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they're mine. Like, I do all the consultations. But I joke with everyone and I say, this girl's white and green wedding, we have to tell her that it is amazing. You have
I
recreated
know.
the wheel. No one's done anything like this, because she just wants to feel special.
Of course.
And that's our goal, is like we have to be so honored to be a part of someone's special day, that we've just got to kind of change our mindset a little bit. And I think a lot of vendors have to do that as well, because I mean, a DJ might play the Macarena 14 times in a weekend, but guess what, that's the first
That
time that
was her
bride
first
is hearing
time
it.
she wanted.
So yeah.
I know. I tell the girls in the office that we're actresses because
Absolutely.
because
Grammy
you
award winning.
know, like, oh my gosh, like you just got to put that energy into it. So, what would you say is like one of your favorite color palettes or certain florals that you like to work with?
So right now, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a color palette. So we're flying to Italy next week,
Oh my
and
gosh,
yeah,
fun!
we'll be there for 20 days. We're there for two projects,
What?
one in Lake Como, one in Florence.
That's
And
amazing
the color palettes, although we love color, we love embracing color. Color sometimes isn't for everyone, but
for
what we're
sure.
executing is it's not a new style of design by any means. Especially if a florist is listening to this, they're going to be like, ugh, we've been doing that for years. It's color blocking, and I love the idea of either like a monochromatic color
Yep,
blocking. So
love
like
it.
every family of red, every family of orange. So we're doing that as part of one of the designs, and really embracing kind of like all of the styles and textures within one family of color. It's really really fun to execute, and we're seeing it a lot in like the big weddings, like the weddings that are coming out of New York and Chicago and San Francisco. The girls who have, all the money.
Right,
But I think we're also going to start seeing that in some of like the more like the smaller weddings, and like the weddings who they like design but they don't want to fully embrace it. So
right.
I'm loving a monochromatic wedding, but like choosing any color and just diving into it.
No, I love that. Okay, so let's go to the Italy weddings.
Oh,
Tell me, like, how does that process work? Like, you're ordering flowers over there? Like,
girl, let me tell you, strap in. And I mean, it is
hold on.
we so the first time I had an event in Italy was almost 3 years ago. And we went there for an editorial. And ultimately, the experience really just made me learn a lot more about myself, because our business hadn't really even like blown up at that point. Ordering flowers from Italy, if you have ever done it before, you probably have the patience of a saint, because our event, literally, our first event is a week from today. And my wholesaler in Lake Como has still not confirmed my order. Now, it's speculation that it's basically just because I'm American and they want to deal, they're just going to deal with it on their own. But the thing is like when you approach designing, I can't speak to this on like the planning side of things, but the designer who's going with us, who is kind of putting her stamp on everything, she's also about to pull her hair out because the rental companies aren't confirming linen. So like we're literally having BBJ like fly in like this whole new set of linens for us just so that we can have them on hold. It's been a nightmare, but I wouldn't say that to make like anybody think that they can't have a wedding over there, because
Right.
that's why you hire professionals, so that we can take the bullet.
Handle all the back and forth. Yeah, no, of
But
course.
it's teaching me, this process this time has taught me a lot about like admin, which I am the worst at, because I like being like, I like getting my hands dirty. I like being in the thralls of it all. But really honestly, like with the time difference and the difference of availability versus from over there to over here, I mean, we still import all of our flowers, they still import all of their flowers, but it's different. So it's taught me a lot about like, sit at your computer and do this research.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is very challenging. We just did a wedding in Mexico, and I mean, we're really reliant on the people there. And
Yeah.
so I even learned this past time we took a couple extra $100 in cash and started giving it to the staff. And oh my gosh, things started happening. It was
Uh-huh.
wild.
Yeah. And
That was the trick.
yeah, I've experienced that firsthand. I've freelanced for other florists in like Cabo and things like that, and honestly, like money talks. But not just that, they all work together. Like
Oh
they're not
yeah.
they're not what's it called, like a union? How we are unionized?
Right.
They just like work together, and
Yeah.
I wish that we would do that more often. But yeah, it's wild. I don't know how you guys executed that as flawlessly as you did.
They were literally still putting flowers out like 5 minutes before. That's just how they roll on island time. I'm like,
Where was that wedding?
it was in Cancun. It was about 45 minutes north of Cancun.
Lord have mercy.
But it all worked out. And the
Yeah,
lady that we worked with, she's another planner there, which she was our saving grace of like, okay, can you WhatsApp this person or can you.
literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And also the language barrier too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, at least Spanish is a little bit more easier, but I can't imagine like knowing French or Italian, like,
No. We're luckily we are going with a translator.
okay, good.
And not, I mean, I would say like if anyone is going to do like any sort of international events and you are not fluent in that language that you're going to, it's not expensive. Hire a translator because it
Hmm.
honestly has helped so much with something as simple as like for me when I'm sitting in my warehouse and I'm expecting my flowers delivered, a truck just shows up and then they put it right into my cooler. But over there, like we're not going to have a cooler, we're not going to have buckets, we're not going to have. I mean, we didn't even get the address to the villa we're staying at until like 3 weeks ago. And so it's honestly like having someone as like a buffer to say, okay, I don't know, I literally don't know how to Google where can I find 5 gallon buckets. Like they don't have
Buckets.
Home Depots over there. I can't just go and
No
get a
Lowe's or Home Depot, right?
no, literally. So it's like I had to explain. It's like it's a big pot, like, and I don't know. The nuances of like what we're used to makes me feel so privileged. But honestly, it's just how like we were raised. Like this is we're a consumer environment, and everywhere else, it's kind of they just go on their own time. Like
Right.
you're putting flowers in crock pots over there. I mean, that's a lie, but like that's kind of how I
Yeah, no, it's definitely very challenging, but also, I mean, fun and to be able to experience,
absolutely
and make you feel how easy and blessed you are to do it here.
truly.
So,
And we have like 16 weddings going on while I'm gone. So my team is like
oh my gosh.
we're like super prepared right now and everyone feels like really really good. I feel like we have a therapy session every single day.
Right.
I mean honestly, I am nothing without my team and
Same.
they are they kick ass and that's honestly how we are able to garnish what we have right now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, so what are some of the fun trends that you're loving right now, and what do you say is out? Like,
Mm.
don't do.
Hmm. Well, so some of the fun trends that I'm seeing, and I don't see them often, and I really only ever see them come from like our funky planners who really love to embrace design, like you guys, and like we have a couple others here. I love embracing like new texture, like grasses
Mm,
and dried elements, and it's definitely a choice, and
of
it's not.
course.
And I have to constantly remind myself that we are in the Bible Belt, and these girls their white roses and their peonies and their
Southern girls.
absolutely. And but the brides that are like want to embrace some element of like quirky or texture, it's really fun to kind of ignite our like design spark. And so like grasses and dried elements, dried hydrangeas, really like fun textures and like vines. We've been doing a few of that lately, but only like styled shoots because we need to get it out there first so that people can trust that it's actually good vision. I also am loving the like incorporating vegetables, not fruits. Screw a grape. Grapes have been overdone, but incorporating vegetables. We just did an event last month where like the color palette was like plum and mauve and like burgundy, and we used eggplants on the
I
table, and
love
it was
that.
so fun.
I
And
love that.
it was very unique. And the people who noticed it, and the people who didn't, they're just like, oh, it's a
That's
color.
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
And
awesome.
then the trend that I am like literally hating, I think every florist is probably with me on this, is stop asking them for baby's breath. Okay, so and I tell
Why?
my brides this all the time. If you want baby's breath, you've got to come to me with more than what you think you're going to spend, because the only way that baby's breath looks good is in mass quantities.
Yep,
And I
agree.
really hope that all of your guests don't have the sense of smell, because it's literally going to smell like a porta potty. And generally, whenever we do like educate our brides on that, either they trust us, or they're like, no, I don't care, we're doing baby's breath.
Right.
So just stop asking for baby's breath. Let us do something fun, because in 5 years you're gonna look back and be like, oh, I definitely got married in like 2020s when baby's breath was a thing.
Was yeah, exactly.
Gosh, it's so
All
bad.
right, so tell me about Lily of the Valley. Why is it so expensive and why does everyone want it? Well, especially our southern brides here.
Our southern brides, bless their heart. Um, from a farm standpoint, I have no idea why it's so expensive. Because I know that it does.
Okay.
Like, we have, like, there are farms here that we work with on a local basis, like to get tulips and peonies and things. They do grow lily of the valley, and it is very expensive. And I've looked into it as much as like my ADHD will allow me to. It doesn't seem like it has to grow in like a certain environment, or you have to feed it gold while it's growing, or like pray over it every day.
I mean, I just got a quote for the bridesmaids were going to be 700 a piece,
Absolutely.
and then the brides was like, I don't know,
Probably like
1400.
1400.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, and here's the question. Did she want greenery in the bouquet, or did she want it just lily of the valley?
just Lily.
Oh girl, that's like 200 stems right there. And each stem is like $25.
Oh, and she's getting it. She wants it. That's important to her.
I mean, the significance behind the lily of the valley, I can understand, because it represents like, actually, I couldn't even tell you what it represents.
I don't know either.
I just pulled that out. But it's beautiful. I love it. If a bride, I have actually never had a Lily of the Valley bride, because most of the time my brides come to me and I give it to them straight. Like, from my experience and like freelancing for other florists who have done it before, when you buy Lily of the Valley wholesale, like from whoever your wholesaler is, you guarantee that shipment, because they're taking
Yeah.
it in, and they are like, you have to guarantee it. So you buy it whether it shows up dead or not. And
Mm,
it could look brown, it could be molded, or it could be perfect. And I'm just not going to take that risk. The same thing with the girls who want those like orchid bouquets. I love the look, I love the style, but unfortunately, orchids, much like Lily of the
mm,
Valley, have to travel from afar.
delicate.
And if we're going to trust FedEx and UPS and everything like that as much as these girls want to, well, unfortunately, you're not going to get what you want 100% of the time. But I mean, bless the girls who want to spend $1,500 on a Lily of the Valley bouquet. I
Right.
I mean, there's a florist in our market who I respect a lot, and I have nothing at all against using like high quality, like luxury faux flowers to supplement. But he went to a manufacturer wholesale and literally had them like 3D print Lily of the Valley exactly and hex code them, because he always gets the request for the Lily of the
For
Valley
the
brides. And he's like, nah, I'm not paying $1,400 for, you can have this for half the price and give it back to me at the end of the night. It looks real. Thank you. Goodbye. And
yeah,
no
I
one
mean,
cares. But there are those Southern mamas who are like, fake flowers? No, never. Okay.
right. Right. Yeah, no, for sure. No, yeah. Okay, so let's now. This is actually a really good transition. So, whenever we're talking with our potential clients or current brides, grooms, couples, they're like, "What should I budget for florals?" And and I don't even want to talk numbers. I just want to educate people what you have to go through to experience to get to the flowers to get them their day of, because
Right.
people don't realize like the ordering process, and you have to order more, and then when you get there, like you said, some may be dead. These are,
Uh-huh.
these aren't the right shade. So will you kind of talk us through the process of like from initial consultation to they move forward, and then
Yeah.
everything you have to do from there, obviously to day of, and then
No,
breakdown.
I love this, because this is literally the make or break for a florist in any market, in any environment. What our process is, and you guys are familiar with our process, but whenever we sit down with a client for the first time, I never lead with budget. Budget is always an uncomfortable conversation, whether you have an unlimited budget, which is never
Amen.
the case,
Yeah.
or if you have a smaller budget. I don't want people to go into the design of their wedding with the idea of how limited they can be. So
Absolutely.
I literally tell them, like, I want you to treat flowers like your save for later cart on Amazon. Like mine is up to like $3 million at this point, and I just kind of add to cart, every once in a while. I want them to treat it like it's a shopping cart. I want you to envision walking through your venue and saying, I want flowers there, I want flowers there, and I want them to look like this. I want them to dream. I want them to dream big.
Absolutely.
So what we do is we kind of progress through the initial conversation, which typically lasts about like 35 to 40 minutes from start to finish. We'll kind of talk colors and design and like whimsicality versus like a more traditional element. But what I really want to focus on is how much they speak, because the more they speak, the more important flowers are to them. If I get a bride that is struggling to say like, I mean, I guess we could put a bud vase here, or maybe just candles. That tells me that once we get to the end of the conversation, we're going to kind of wrap this up with a bow, and we're probably going to fit within the confines of her budget. But if a bride continues to go on, then
Want
I
flowers in the
know
restroom, and I want to do something there.
if a mom says we want flowers in the restroom, I know that they've got a comma in their budget. And so then what then happens is we wrap it all up, and while I am in the consultation with them, I'm taking my notes and I'm kind of putting together a preliminary proposal just based on pricing. And then we kind of wrap it up by talking about budget. And I always say, like, is there a number we want to be respectful of or like hover around? Or is there a number that in your wildest dreams you can't ever think to exceed? Because those numbers are two stark differences. And you guys have experienced this in the past before, because most of the time when they get to me, planners, not you guys, have not educated them on what the range of flowers could be. Because sometimes we get these brides who their sister got married 10 years ago and she paid $4,000 for
$4,000. Yeah.
flowers. And, I mean, and even though inflation for like flowers is a thing, like everything is more expensive now. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a difficult conversation. So what ends up happening is I get a range of like, well, this is what I was thinking about spending, but I can't exceed this number. Like this is absolute bonkers. And then I go into like the educational side of things. And this is where my love for learning comes in, because I've talked with hundreds and hundreds of planners from all different markets to get a good idea of like what ratio or percentage of the floral budget should be allocated from the total budget. And the number that we've landed on typically falls between like 15 and 17% of your total budget. And that kind of all encompasses the fact that the more guests you have, the more tables, the more flowers. And this is where we have a lot of fun in education, because sometimes we get brides super early in the process of they haven't hired a planner, which in our contract we require a planner. But as long as you have like you're in communications with one, we can work with you. But this is when we start introducing really fun ideas. Like, have you ever thought about just stations for like not doing I don't know what it's called, where you just have a few tables for a certain percentage of your guests, but it's all you guys do it,
Yes.
and kind of planting ideas here and there. So that's like the first stage of the proposal. And that's kind of where we're putting pen to paper and we're introducing our pricing. We're introducing like this is a good fluid conversation. And then it comes to the actual design execution, where we make these really comprehensive vision boards and everything like that. All of that matches the first stage. And the first stage outlines all of the pricing, everything like that. So throughout the process, we have to stay true to, our pricing. We don't price gouge. A lot of florists are actually good about that, where once we tell you that your bridal bouquet is $265, unless you come back to us and you're like, I actually want Lily of the Valley,
You
we're
get
going
one
to stay
stem.
we're going to stay true to it. So we have to keep in mind, throughout the course of the time that we spend together, whether it's, 6 months or 18 months, we have to always keep in line with what's going on in the world as far as flowers go. Are there new flowers that are being like grown, or like are there new rose varieties that we want to introduce, things like that. And then when everything kind of comes in, everything's designed and I oversee a lot of the design. I still do a lot of the design myself. And generally, what happens is on Mondays, when all of our flowers get together, my designers and I have a big roundtable meeting where we go over design direction, execution, who's in charge of what. And then I meet with our setup and breakdown teams and we go over who's setting up, who's breaking down, who's getting on a ladder. And our heritage team here is known for our helpfulness. Like, we will drop a linen for a planner and, like, no problem, because how am I supposed to do my job if there are other people who have not been able to? And half
Absolutely.
the time, the planner is running around putting out fires before we even arrive on site. So if
Right.
we can drop a linen for them, absolutely.
For sure.
Or if catering's truck is in the way, in the meantime, we can help. I mean, we've helped catering unload their trucks before just so we can get
Yeah, so they can move out and you can get in.
its
Yeah.
helpfulness.
Teamwork.
Yeah, and teamwork. And that's really kind of what the whole process is represented is. Like, from start to finish, we are a team with our bride, with our planner, and then we're a team here in our warehouse and on our design.
No, absolutely. And then I guess also hit on like the prepping of when the flowers come in, just to educate. Like I don't think people realize like how much
It's
time goes
aggressive.
into prepping. Like it
Um,
doesn't just come put together.
no, no. So for I would say a good size wedding, like where a mix of bud vases, compotes, six bridesmaids, everything like that. Our flowers, like I said, get in on Mondays from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. I have 6 people working on processing and conditioning those flowers, stripping all the greenery, taking all the bad petals off, cutting them, putting them in conditioned water, the whole 9 yards. So that takes a full day. On Tuesdays, we do what's called recipeing. And that is taking all of the orders that we've had for that week, all of the stem counts and things, and figuring out how much of this is going to go into each item. And from there, we start the design process. For a Saturday wedding, everything is typically done by Friday. And it's all stored in our cooler. Everything is good. And it's a full week. So the brides that say that they're just going to do their own flowers, I'm like, God be
Nope.
with you.
No,
Because
for real.
I mean,
Because
there
guess who ends up doing them? Us.
you
Where because they ran out of time.
a
And
hundred
I'm like,
percent.
I'm not a floral designer. Like when you say recipe, like my mind starts going crazy to think like you got to figure out how many peonies or how many of each thing go in each thing. So
Exactly. Well, and a lot of the times brides don't really understand, like there's a lot of math that goes into floristry. And I failed math many times in high school. And I'm good at making sure that things look good, but my other lead designers are making sure that, like,
you have
I don't
enough
shove,
product.
17 peonies in a bridal bouquet and there's none left for the altar. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean that part definitely kind of is like a little mind blowing trying to figure out the
it
numbers,
is. Yeah. And
So
so we typically try and actually work about 2 to 3 weeks in advance on recipeing so we don't spend too much time, so we can just dive right into design. But
right.
I mean, it takes a full at least solid 3 days with our full team on one wedding to execute.
Yeah,
It's a
no.
lot.
So for couples getting married, definitely listen to this because people don't
Don't do it.
realize, So that's why I wanted to educate everyone on that. So,
Yes.
okay, what would you say is the biggest challenge for running a floral design company?
For me
Waiting for the
personally,
florals to come in? I'm
right.
kidding.
For me personally, actually, I just I was chatting with my team and like my husband and everyone about it, because what I'm struggling with right now personally is a work life balance, and I think that can
Yeah,
be
what's
said for,
that?
no, literally, and I think that can be said for any of us, especially
For
who
sure.
like a passion led business. Like, passion fueled businesses are so, they require so much of us.
They
And
do.
I want to give my brides, my planners, my venue partners, I want to give them 100% of me. And sometimes at the end of the day, I have nothing left to give. And you have to figure out how to restart yourself every day.
Yep.
So that's what's my biggest struggle. It has nothing to do with flowers. It has nothing to do with like the concept of our business, because I love what I
You
do. I
love it.
still
Yeah.
love flowers. I love my team. I love all of my brides, no matter if it's, a baby's breath or a white and green wedding. I love them all. But when I open my laptop every day and I have a full inbox and I have, we had 6 leads come in overnight, and I get anxious. I feel like I'm failing people. And like a lot of other vendors probably feel the same way, because it's not just imposter syndrome. It's, how am I going to serve all of these people how they deserve to be served
Absolutely.
without giving too much of myself away? And like even something as simple as email, like I it's difficult when all you want to do is, like, for me, I'm gesturing to my design floor. All I want to do is be out there. All I want to
Right.
do is like be with my flowers. But I have a responsibility to email and leads and the new bride. So for me, to answer your question, it's like it's having a balance of work and life here at work, where I'm still filling my cup, but I'm still driving the ship. And I think a lot of us wedding professionals, we aren't as honest with ourselves as that, because when you scale a business to what you've scaled it to, it's hard to do the things that you really want to do anymore, because you've hired so many people or you've sold franchises, and it's a lot. You become a shepherd versus, one of your sheep. And because at one
Mm-hmm.
point in time you were just a sheep.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to be really thankful for, but it's also something to keep in mind when I do my talks with, Wedding MBA and like our group here in our market. And I talk to other florists who are really wanting to scale their business. I just tell them, you have to be prepared to give up a part of yourself. And whether that be the part of yourself that is emotionally connected to floral design, or if it's a part of yourself that like knows that you're not going to be home before 9 p.m. and during wedding season,
Right.
you have to give it up, and you have to embrace it, knowing that you're doing it for the greater good, because hustle culture still very much exists in the wedding industry. The younger generation who canceled hustle culture, I don't think they've ever been a wedding vendor.
Right.
I invite everyone to understand that, like, especially brides who are listening, whenever you send that email at 11 o'clock at night to your wedding planner or your florist or your photographer with an idea or question, and they respond, they are taking time out of their evening with their husband, their wives, their dogs, their kids, because they prioritize you. And that's not a bad thing, but understand that when they don't respond to you for 2, 3 days, they're quite literally doing the same thing to everybody else. And it has nothing to do with you personally. It has everything to do with the fact that they're choosing themselves. And we're
Absolutely.
allowed, it's like how when we were in elementary school thinking that our teachers slept at school. I think that's literally how some brides think, where it's like, oh, well, they just, it's just a small business. He'll text me back, or he'll respond to my DM on
He
Instagram.
can meet me at Sunday at 3, you know.
Yeah, and something as simple as that, where I mean,
Or
I had
can you talk at like 7:30 tonight?
exactly,
Sure.
or I had a bride email a couple of days ago saying like, I can't meet during the week. Can you meet on a Saturday? And I'm like, I need you to 1+1 this real quick.
You know what I say? Okay, go ahead. You go first and I'll tell you what I say.
Well, I responded and I was like, well, I am a wedding florist. So weddings happen on weekends. If we want to meet during, the week in maybe an evening, I could probably open my calendar if it's important to you. But no.
So they always do. I mean, as you know, you get it. So I'm always like, absolutely. Well, how about we do it on your lunch break? What time is your lunch?
Yeah.
Like,
And then you and I remember that we don't actually take a lunch break.
yeah, what's that? We eat?
Yeah, I think I just have like margaritas delivered from our local Mexican restaurant. And I mean, that's it.
Okay, all right. Tell me the wildest or most unusual floral request you've ever gotten.
There haven't been many.
Well, that's good.
We've been very lucky with our brides before, but I do remember, and this was very, very early on in our career before Heritage was even like formed. We had a bride who was getting married at a local venue, and she had a very tight budget, but she wanted a wow moment. She wanted a floral chandelier. And even back then, when I didn't know how to price appropriately. I still priced it high enough where it was too much for her. But her mom swung in the back end of things and paid for it without the bride knowing. And so on the day of, we gained access to the venue super early that day so we could hang it. The bride comes in and she has like a reaction that was not what was expected. It was almost like because she knew she couldn't have it, she had gotten it out of her head that she was going to have it. And
Right.
so like the request itself wasn't crazy, but the mom was so involved in making sure that it was perfect. It set the tone that made me realize like moms, they drive a lot of this ship and they're kind of doing it to reinvent or like make up for something that they didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Because this bride, like, yes, she wanted a wow moment, but when she couldn't afford it, she was like, okay, fine. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, it's out of my head. But the mom was like, no, you're going to have it. And she basically designed it. She showed me what she wanted exactly, and we executed it flawlessly. I literally like ripped the skin off of my hands to hoist it up there.
Oh gosh.
And then to see the bride's reaction, she was like, oh,
Oh, it wasn't even like,
no,
oh gosh.
it was mostly like, oh yeah, it's pretty. I'm gonna go continue getting my hair and makeup done. Like it wasn't like
It
it
wasn't
wasn't the
the,
reaction that I wanted.
yeah,
I think I realized in that moment where like the brides who give me the reaction that I want are the brides who I want to work with. Like they need to know
absolutely.
that I put blood, sweat, and tears, literal blood,
Right.
into
Same.
this arrangement.
If not, act like it.
No, literally, like, okay, great, thanks. You're in your
I know I've had, definitely moments like that and then ones that just like were in awe.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So obviously this is called This Takes the Cake. So is there a crazy wedding that's happened or an unforgettable setup or something floral wise that would take the cake?
So it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
It's later this year in September.
Okay.
And so my entire family is from Cape Cod up in Massachusetts. So
Right.
we're taking on a client and an event on Martha's Vineyard.
So fun.
And oh, it's going to be beautiful. It's a very classic Martha's Vineyard design, so the light blues and the whites, but this client is not difficult but very particular.
Challenging.
Yeah, challenging is the word. And one of the clients that came from this client has actually made us sign an NDA for an event that we're doing for them sometime in the future, date not determined, in a season undetermined with an undetermined budget.
Love it.
I love it too, except for I don't know if I have to love it or hate it. And it's just I think what it's going to do is it's going to be a huge portfolio builder for me, and it's also going to probably put me in a mental institution because I love my full service clients and I love working with planners who have vision, but let me tell you, sometimes I feel like these people choose violence when they wake up over, just understanding that we're all people. I can't Mother Nature is my boss. That's my favorite thing to
Right.
tell my clients is Mother Nature is truly in charge. So when you want peonies, an all peony bouquet, when there are no peonies in sight or no peonies to
Be found.
procure, and you put your foot down and say, my daughter will have peonies in her bouquet, I kind of just want to look at you and scratch my head and just say, well,
Let's change the month. You can get married this month.
yeah, but I think that's kind of the direction that this client is going in. So we'll see what happens. The next time we chat, or
Yeah, you have to catch me up to speed.
next year when we do this again, if I'm still here, then we survived.
I'll come get you out of the mental institution.
Literally, a grippy sock vacation.
I love it. Awesome. Well, it's been so great talking with you today, Chris.
Yes,
Tell
absolutely.
everybody where they can find you, Instagram, Facebook, all the things,
Yeah.
website.
So we are Florals by Heritage on Instagram. I believe the same on Facebook, and probably the same on TikTok. Although my TikTok girl does not work often, or I don't really post often. And yeah, that's the easiest place to find me. And then our website is heritageflorals.com.
I love it. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
go check out all Chris's beautiful work. He has done amazing things. We'd love for everyone to see. And thank you for coming on to This Takes a Cake.